Have you ever promised yourself that you would change, only to wake up the next morning and repeat the same old habits? Have you ever dreamed of success, of a stronger body, a sharper mind, a better life, yet somehow chosen comfort over action? You tell yourself tomorrow will be different, but tomorrow looks exactly like yesterday. If that sounds familiar, then this story is for you. This is the story of a young blacksmith named Ethan, a man blessed with talent, admired by many, yet trapped by his own laziness. His hands were strong. His mind was clever. His potential was enormous. But potential alone does not build greatness. Only action does. Once upon a time, in a peaceful village surrounded by green hills, sparkling rivers, and fields of golden wheat, there lived a young blacksmith named Ethan. The village was small but lively. Farmers woke before sunrise to tend their crops. Bakers prepared bread before the first light touched the sky. Shepherds led their flocks across the hills with discipline and care. Everyone in the village had a role. Everyone worked hard. Everyone except Ethan. Now do not misunderstand. Ethan was not useless. In fact, he was gifted. From a young age, he had shown remarkable skill with iron and fire. When he lifted a hammer, it seemed like an extension of his own arm. When sparks flew from the anvil, they danced like tiny stars responding to his command. Villagers often said that Ethan could become the finest blacksmith in the entire region. He could forge swords that were perfectly balanced. He could craft plows that cut through the earth like butter. He could repair broken tools with precision and beauty. But there was one problem. Ethan dreamed more than he worked. Each morning, he would wake up slowly. He would stretch, yawn, and sit by the window of his small home, watching the clouds drift lazily across the sky. "I'll start soon," he would whisper to himself. He would sip his tea slowly. He would think about the applause he would receive one day. He imagined travelers praising his work. He pictured himself becoming famous, respected not only in his village, but in distant lands. In his imagination, he was already great. But in reality, his workshop was full of unfinished tools. Half-forged swords lay cold on the anvil. Orders from farmers piled up. Guards waited for repaired weapons. Broken plows gathered dust in the corner. And still, Ethan delayed. "I work better when I feel inspired," he would say. But inspiration rarely came. Instead, he chose comfort. Some days he would walk to the river and sit for hours watching the water flow. He would tell himself that he was thinking deeply. In truth, he was avoiding effort. Other days, he would reorganize his tools again and again, convincing himself that preparation was productivity. Yet nothing new was created. Tomorrow, he promised. Always tomorrow. Ethan's best friend Daniel was the opposite. Daniel was a farmer. His hands were rough from honest labor. His back ached from long days under the sun. But Daniel never complained. He woke before sunrise. He plowed fields even when tired. He planted seeds even when unsure of the harvest. One morning, Daniel visited Ethan's workshop. He looked around at the unfinished tools and sighed. "Ethan," he said gently, "you are more talented than anyone I know. Why do you waste it?" "I'm not wasting it," Ethan replied casually. "I just don't feel ready yet. I'll start properly next week." Daniel shook his head. "Dreams without action are just fantasies. You cannot harvest crops you never plant. You cannot build a reputation you never earn." Ethan smiled nervously, brushing off the words. But deep inside, something stung, because he knew Daniel was right. He wanted to be admired. He wanted to be respected. He wanted to feel proud of himself. But he feared discomfort. He feared the heavy lifting of the hammer when his arms were tired. He feared the long hours of repetitive work. He feared failing after trying seriously. So he did nothing. And doing nothing felt safer. Weeks passed. The villagers grew impatient. Farmers complained that their plows were late. Guards whispered that Ethan could not be trusted. Mothers warned their children not to rely on promises without proof. One afternoon, the village chief came to Ethan's workshop. His voice was calm but firm. "Ethan," he said, "your laziness is no longer just your problem. It is hurting the village. Crops are delayed, repairs are unfinished. Nas. If this continues, we will have to find another blacksmith." Those words hit Ethan like a hammer to the chest. Find another blacksmith. For the first time, he felt real fear. Not fear of work, but fear of losing everything. That night, he sat alone in his workshop. A half-forged sword rested before him. The moonlight reflected off the cold iron. He picked up the hammer and then put it down. "I want to be great," he whispered to himself. "Why can't I just work?" For the first time, he did not blame the weather. He did not blame tiredness. He did not blame lack of inspiration. He blamed himself, and that hurt. The next morning, something unexpected happened. A stranger arrived in the village. He was an older man with steady hands and sharp eyes. His posture was strong despite his age. His name was Samuel, a blacksmith known far and wide for his discipline and mastery. Samuel had heard about Ethan's talent. He had also heard about his laziness. He walked into Ethan's workshop quietly and observed the unfinished tools. "You have skill," Samuel said calmly. "But skill without discipline is like iron without fire. It cannot be shaped." Ethan looked at him eagerly. "Teach me," he said. Samuel nodded. "The secret is not motivation," he said. "Motivation is unreliable. Some days you feel strong. Other days you feel weak. If you wait for feelings, you will wait forever. Then what should I wait for?" Ethan asked. "Nothing," Samuel replied. "You must act even when you do not feel. Nas. Like it." He picked up the hammer and placed it in Ethan's hand. "Start small, work for 5 minutes. Not because you feel ready, but because you choose to. 5 minutes? Ethan asked, surprised. "Yes. Discipline is built like a muscle. It grows through repetition." The first day was painful. Ethan's arms felt heavy. His mind tried to convince him to stop. "This is boring. You deserve rest. You can do it later." But he remembered Samuel's words. 5 minutes, then 10, then 20. By sunset, he had finished a small plow. It was not perfect, but it was complete. And that felt different. The next morning was harder. His body felt sore. His mind wanted comfort. The river called to him. The clouds seemed inviting, but he forced himself to lift the hammer again. 5 minutes, then 10, then 30. Slowly something changed, not his talent, his identity. He began to see himself as someone who shows up, not someone who waits. Days turned into weeks. Each morning was a battle, but each evening brought visible progress. A sword completed, a plow repaired, a tool polished. The villagers noticed. Farmers smiled again. Guards nodded with approval. Children peeked into his workshop, watching sparks fly with excitement. Momentum grew, and momentum made the next day slightly easier. Not easy, just easier. Months passed. Ethan's workshop was no longer filled with half-finished projects. Instead, shining swords hung proudly on the walls. Sturdy plows stood ready for the fields. Nas. Orders were completed on time. Travelers began visiting from nearby villages. They had heard about a blacksmith who worked with both skill and reliability. Ethan was no longer just talented, he was disciplined. One evening, Samuel returned. He looked around the workshop and smiled. "Do you see the difference?" he asked. Ethan nodded. "I used to wait to feel ready," he said. "Now I act whether I feel ready or not." "And how do you feel now?" Samuel asked. Ethan paused. "Stronger," he said. "Not just in my arms, in my mind." Samuel placed a hand on his shoulder. "That is the power of consistent action. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent." Ethan learned a truth that changed his life. You are not lazy by nature. You are not weak by destiny. You are simply untrained in discipline. Action creates momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence builds identity. And identity builds destiny. From that day forward, Ethan became known not just for his craft, but for his character. When young apprentices asked him the secret to success, he did not speak about talent. He said, "Do the work especially when you do not feel like it." And now, let me ask you something. How many half-finished swords are lying in your life? Unstarted projects, unwritten books, unlearned skills, unattempted dreams. How many times have you said, I'll start tomorrow? What if tomorrow never changes unless you do? You do not need to transform your entire life in one day. You need 5 minutes, Nas. 5 honest minutes of action. Then 10, then another day. Greatness is not built in one heroic moment. It is built in quiet mornings when no one is watching. It is built when you choose effort over comfort. It is built when you act without waiting for perfect feelings. Ethan's story is not about a blacksmith. It is about you. Inside you is talent. Inside you is potential. But potential without discipline is wasted iron. So lift your hammer. Start small. Act today. And one day, you will look back and realize that the person you wish to become was built by the small actions you repeated when it was hard. That is how greatness is born, one strike at a time.